a nice day. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'll be discussing to you about solving quadratic equation by factoring. This is a grade 9 lesson for week 1 in the first quarter. Our main objective for having this video is for you to solve quadratic equation by factoring. Before we go on with solving quadratic equation by factoring, let us try to have a quick review first about the three main types of factoring that are very important in solving quadratic equation by factoring. The first one is factoring by common monomial factor. How are we going to factor out quadratic expression by common monomial factor? Let us consider the first example, 3x squared plus 2x. First, we have to look for the greatest common factor between 3x squared and 2x, and the greatest common factor between the two terms is x. Next, we are going to divide each term by x. So 3x squared divided by x, the answer is 3x. Why we have 3x? Remember that x has 1 as a numerical coefficient and 1 as an exponent. So what are we going to do is, we are going to divide a numerical coefficient. 3 divided by 1, the answer is 3. And we're going to subtract the exponent of the variable. So 2 minus 1, we have 1. And as I have said before, if the exponent of a variable is only 1, no need to write the exponent 1. Next, 2x divided by x. So the answer is 2. 2 divided by 1, that is 2. And x divided by x, that's already 1. We can cancel out x. So therefore, the factored form for this expression is x times the quantity of 3x plus 2. Now, considering the second example, 6x squared minus 3x. What is the greatest common factor between the two terms? Of course, the greatest common factor is 3x. Next, we are going to divide each term by 3x. 6x squared divided by 3x, the answer is 2x. Of course, 6 divided by 3, the answer is 2. And x squared divided by x, the answer is x. Next, negative 3x divided by 3, the answer for that is negative 1. So negative 3 divided by 3, the answer is negative 1. And x divided by x, that is already 1. So the factored form is 3x times 2x minus 1. The second type of factoring that we're going to review is factoring difference of two squares. How will we know that the expression is factorable as difference of two squares? Consider the first example. The given is x squared minus y squared. So of course, it consists of two terms. The first and the second term are perfect square, and the sign that separates between the two terms is a minus sign. So if that would be the case, that is an example of difference of two squares. So to get the factors of this, we have to get the square root of the first term. And the square root of x squared is x. So we also have x in the second factor. Next, we're going to get the square root of the second term. And the square root of y squared is we have y, and we also have here y in the second factor. Then, the first factor, we're going to separate the term by a plus sign. And the second one, the terms will be separated by a minus sign. So the factored form is quantity of x plus y times the quantity of x minus y. Example number 2. We have here 4x squared minus 9y squared. The same process. We have to check whether it is difference of two squares. The first and the second term are perfect squares, yes, and it is separated by a minus sign. Now, to get the factors, you get the square root of the first term. The square root of 4x squared is 2x. We also have 2x in the second factor. Next, the square root of 9y squared. We have to get the square root of 9y squared. The square root of that is 3y, and we also have 3y in the second factor. Now, the first factor, the terms will be separated by a plus sign, and the second factor, the terms will be separated by a minus sign. Therefore, the factored form is quantity of 2x plus 3y times quantity of 2x minus 3y. Now, we're going to review the third type of factoring. This is factoring trinomials. Under factoring trinomials, you also have two types. The first one is factoring a perfect square trinomial. How will we know that a trinomial is a perfect square? Of course, it consists of three terms. Then, the first and the third term are perfect square. Then the middle term is always twice the square root of the first term, and the square root of x squared here is x, and the square root of the third term, which is 9, is 3. So, 2 times x, 2x times 3, the answer is 6x. Therefore, this expression is a perfect square trinomial. Again, to check whether the expression is a perfect square trinomial, you have to check whether the first and the third term are perfect square. If the first and the third term are perfect square, and the middle term is always twice the square root of the first term and the square root of the third term, then it is a perfect square trinomial. Now, to get the factors, for that, we're going to get the square root of the first term, and the square root of x squared is x. Next, we are going to copy the sign of the middle term. The sign of the middle term is positive. Then, we are going to get the square root of the third term, and the square root of 9 is 3. And do not forget, you're going to raise this 1 to the power of 2. And the factored form is quantity of x plus 3 squared, or quantity of x plus 3 times quantity of x plus 3. Okay, another example. We have x squared minus 10x plus 25. Okay, the first term and the third term are perfect square. Next, we're going to check the middle term. So the middle term is twice the square root of the first term, x, and the square root of the third term, which is 5. So we're going to multiply 2 times x times 5, we have 10x. So we were able to obtain the middle term. Therefore, this is also a perfect square trinomial. Now, to factor it out, we have to get the square root of the first term, x squared, and the square root of x squared is x. Next, we are going to copy the sign of the middle term, minus sign. Then, we're going to get the square root of the third term, and the square root of 25 is 5. And do not forget, it should be raised to the power of 2. And the expanded form for that is quantity of x minus 5 times quantity of x minus 5. Now, how about if the trinomial is not a perfect square? How are we going to factor out a trinomial if it is not a perfect square? Okay, so let us try to consider the first example. We have here x squared plus 7x plus 10. So first, we're going to factor out the first term. Factors of x squared are x and x. Next, we are going to factor out 10. But remember that the sum of the two factors should be equal to 7. So we only have two factors of 10 whose sum is 7. 2 times 5, the answer is 10. But once we are going to add 2 and 5, we can have a sum of the numerical coefficient of the middle term. So the factored form for this is quantity of x plus 2 times quantity of x plus 5. Now, another example. We have here x squared minus 8x plus 15. Okay, the same process. Get the factors of x squared. We have x times x. Next, we are going to look for the factors of 15 that once we are going to add, the sum must be equal to negative 8. So, negative 5 times negative 3, the answer is positive 15. But once we're going to add negative 5 plus negative 3, the answer is negative 8. Therefore, the factored form for this is quantity of x minus 5 times quantity of x minus 3. So you are now ready to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. But before we go on further, let us try to consider the following procedures. Always remember to transform the quadratic equation into the standard form. The standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, and I have discussed that one already in the previous video. Next, factor the quadratic expression. Third, apply the zero product property by setting its factor of the quadratic expression equal to 0. Fourth, solve its resulting equation. And lastly, you have to check the values of the variable obtained by substituting each in the original equation. Now we will consider the first example. Find the solutions of the equation x squared plus 9x equals negative 8. If you have observed, the equation is not yet in the standard form, so we're going to transform this one into the standard form. Okay, negative 8 is on the right side of the equation, so I will just transpose this one to the left side of the equation. So you just copy x squared plus 9x, so you have here, and then this negative 8 becomes positive 8 equals 0. Next, we are going to factor out x squared plus 9x plus 8, and this is a trinomial, but this is not a perfect square trinomial. So to factor it out, we have to factor out the first term. Factors of x squared are x and x. Next, we are going to factor out 8, but we have to remember that the sum of the two factors should be 9. So we only have 8 and 1. 8 times 1, the answer is 8. But when you are going to add 8 plus 1, the answer is 9. Next, we are going to equate its factor with 0. So we have here x plus 1 equals 0. Then x plus 8 equals 0. Solve for x. So we have here 1, transpose to the other side of the equation, it becomes negative 1. Then x plus 8 equals 0. To solve for x, transpose 8 to the other side, it becomes negative 8. So we have now x equals negative 8. Now, to verify whether the answer is correct, we have to check. For x equals negative 1, we're going to substitute x by negative 1. So first, copy the given equation, then substitute x by negative 1. So negative 1 squared plus 9 times negative 1 equals negative 8. So quantity of negative 1 squared, so negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. And 9 times negative 1, the answer is negative 9 equals negative 8. So 1 minus 9, the answer is negative 8 equals negative 8. So if you have observed, we have a balanced equation. Therefore, negative 1 satisfies the equation. How about if x equals negative 8? So now we have to copy the given equation. Next, substitute x by negative 8. So we have quantity of negative 8 squared plus 9 times negative 8 equals negative 8. Then, simplify further. Quantity of negative 8 squared, the answer is 64. 9 times negative 8, the answer is negative 72 equals negative 8. 64 minus 72, the answer is negative 8. And we have also negative 8 on the right side of the equation. So if you have observed, we have a balanced equation. So therefore, negative 8 also satisfies the given equation. The solutions of x squared plus 9x equals negative 8 are negative 1 and negative 8. Number 2. Find the solutions of the equation 9x squared minus 4 equals 0 by factoring. So the given expression is already in the standard form. Now, we're going to factor it out as difference of two squares. And the factors of 9x squared minus 4 are 3. Quantity of 3x plus 2 times quantity of 3x minus 2. How did we get this one? Remember in the previous slides, I had done the review about this. So we have to get the square root of 9x squared. The square root of 9x squared is 3x, and we also have 3x in the second factor. Next, we're going to get the square root of 4. And the square root of 4 is 2, and we have also 2 in the second factor. Do not forget that the sign that will separate between the two terms in the first factor is positive and the other one is negative. Next, we are going to equate its factor with 0. So 3x plus 2 equals 0. And then the other one, we have 3x minus 2 equals 0. 3x equals, this 2 here will be transposed, so it becomes negative 2. Then divide both sides by 3. So 3x divided by 3, the answer is x. And negative 2 divided by 3, the answer is negative 2/3. So we have now the first value of x. Now, if 3x minus equals 0, let's now solve for x. So the same process, negative 2 transpose to the right side of the equation, then divide. So 3x divided by 3, the answer is x. And then 2 divided by 3, the answer is 2/3. We have now the second value of x. Now to check, same process with the previous example. We have to copy first the given equation, then substitute x by the first value that we obtained, which is negative 2/3. So 9 times negative 2/3 squared minus 4 equals 0. Then you copy 9, simplify quantity of negative 2/3 squared. So negative 2/3 squared, meaning negative 2 times negative 2, the answer is 4. And 3 times 3, the answer is 9. That's why we have 4/9. And you copy, minus 4 equals 0. Next, 9 times 4/9. So 9 divided by 9, that's already 1. So we have 4. Then, we copy the remaining term. So 4 minus 4 equals 0. And 4 minus 4 is, of course, 0. So we have a balanced equation. Now, how about 4x equals 2/3? Same process, copy the given equation. Then, substitute x by 2/3. So we have to copy 9. Then 2/3 squared minus 4 equals 0. Simplify 2/3 squared. So 2 times 2 is 4 and 3 times 3 is 9. Then copy minus 4 equals 0. 9 times 4/9. So 9 divided by 9, that's already 1. So we have 4 minus 4 equals 0. So if you have observed, we have also a balanced equation. Now we can conclude that the solutions of 9x squared minus 4 equals 0 are negative 2/3 and positive 2/3. Now moving on with the third example. Find the solutions of the equation 2y squared plus 18y equals 0 by factoring. So the equation is already in the standard form and the expression is factorable by common monomial factor. The greatest common factor between 2y squared and 18y is 2y. So 2y squared divided by 2y, the answer is y. Next, 18y divided by 2y, the answer is 9. After that, we are going to equate its factor with 0. So we have 2y equals 0. On the other side, we have y plus 9 equals 0. To solve for y, divide both sides by 2. So y is equal to 0 since 0 divided by 2 is 0. Next, y plus 9 transpose to the right side of the equation, it becomes negative 9. So we have y equals negative 9. Now to check, for y equals 0, of course, we're going to copy first the equation, then substitute y by 0. So 2 times 0 squared plus 18 times 0, of course, the answer for that is 0. And if you have observed, we have also a balanced equation for y equals 0. How about for y equals negative 9? Again, the same process, copy the given equation. Next, substitute y by -9. So 2 times quantity of -9 squared plus 18 times -9 equals 0. You have to copy 2, and then quantity of -9 squared is 81 because you have -9 times -9. 18 times -9, the answer is -162 equals 0. 2 times 81, the answer is 162. Bring down this one, and you have equals 0. So 162 minus 162, the answer is 0. We have also a balanced equation. So we can now conclude that the solutions of the equation 2y squared plus 18y equals 0 are 0 and -9. Hopefully you learned something for my video today. But before I end, let me share to you about the equations of life. Life plus love equals happy. Of course, you will be happy when you will have love. And life minus love, you will be sad. Now, solve this by elimination. So life plus life, we have 2 life. Eliminate already positive love and negative love. And happy plus sad, we have happy plus sad. To solve for life, we have to divide both sides of the equation by 2. Therefore, life is 1 half happy plus 1 half sad. That's real life. And it's a reality, but always remember to enjoy life to the fullest. Thank you, my dear students, for watching, and kindly share to other students for them to learn, master the lesson. Kindly subscribe also to be updated for math lesson videos and turn on the bell for notifications. That's all for today, and God bless you all.